Starlight Music Academy. Yeah.
Well, I've been down and out for 7 days.
I'm going to share with you a piece, I suppose, and then we're going to talk. They asked me to talk a little bit about kind of business and I suppose some of the things we've done, which are social entrepreneurship. There's this idea, I think, particularly in hip hop, that you can't be successful unless you're rapping about particular things, unless you're conveying a particular narrative. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things we've done and shown how we've kind of gone around that, and you can still be, like I said, successful, whatever that means to people. But I'm going to share with you a piece that I wrote before we get into that. It goes like this. Sorry kids, let me apologize before I go further. Unfortunately, I don't rap about how many blacks are murdered. And some may find it boring and appalling, and I ain't scoring blacks from the little rap packs to merely shouting facts. Like no ability to murder man lyrically. Just for killing shouldn't be glorified. Silly me. Apparently, murdering man has become an aspiration. But what would happen if you reversed the situation? And every black rapper claiming they clap a black in the face rapped about killing white people as much. Would they still get embraced? But some of us have become so accustomed to just behave disgusting, we think it's just our behaviour and it ain't worth discussion. Or worse yet, that is cultural expression. But who owns Beretta? And who owns Smith & Wesson? Who owns the cars we're driving that we think's defining who we are? We run them from ourselves and find there's no hiding, so we can boast about our Prada and our Christian Dior. Still security will follow us when we're in the store. Yes. And we can boast about our platinum chains and stupid diamond rings, while kids in Sierra Leone keep on losing limbs, act like we got no brain and we ain't got no shame, and say, so what, I'm getting the whipples in the game, they're laughing at the goons who really think they're goons. Real goons don't wear platinum chains, they wear ties and suits. I ain't saying school is the answer, let's educate ourselves. See, it's not the money you make, you are the wealth. And I don't hate none of the other rappers, in fact it's quite the other. Look at me as your bigger, wiser, older brother. And as a brother, should I tell you get in trouble if they clap when you celebrate killing? Do they really love you? If record label bosses' kids were dying, would they sell us violence? Quickly as they're ready to desensitize us, they tell you to shit on the floor, holding all the scoops, throw you a bone like a dog jumping through a hoop. Don't take it as a compliment, because it is not that. If I tell you that you're African, you tell me it's not that. But humanity is African, even if not black. The truth can be painful. Stop that. It's so inconvenient for those at the top that you talk too much truth, you might just get popped at. And if women are such hoes that we don't want to kiss them, what does it say about us that we still want to put up? Yeah. See, the Great Pyramid alone has 2.3 million stones. If you took them apart and placed them in a row, they would stretch 2/3 of the way around the earth. That is more stone than there is in every single British church ever put together. Each stone cut to a degree of accuracy of 1/1000th of an inch. Well, what does that mean? In 1978, the Japanese ran an experiment to rebuild them with modern technology and failed terribly. But anyway, that's enough for today. I thought I'd give you that because the reason why I say that, like I said, there's like a common myth that if you've got a particular type of content as a rap artist, you can't be successful. And so I don't really like generally, as you might have noticed from my content, and if you know any of my music, I don't like to generally make songs about things that I do, or places that I go, or money that I get paid, or cars that I drive. That doesn't mean I don't have those things. I drive a Mercedes, I own a Cartier watch, I performed in 10 countries last year, I didn't have an album out. You don't have to be on MTV to be successful. And that's part of what our young people are being sold, and we're missing a trick almost. Talk to them now. That we don't realise that there's a whole world out there beyond MTV base, right? That real musicians are being successful and getting paid and doing perfectly well, and they don't need to make songs about that stuff. I'll give you some examples from my own life and from artists I know. I went to watch a guy called Ornette Coleman. Anyone heard of Ornette Coleman in the audience? Right, we've got a couple of the olders who've heard of Ornette Coleman. Right, so Ornette Coleman is a jazz musician. His big album, his big crossover album, came out in 1959. I went to watch him perform about 2 months ago. 3,000 people paid £25 a ticket. You can do maths. Figure it out. His big album came out in 1959. Right. Okay, I went to see another one called Archie Shepp, same sort of thing. And so there's this whole revenue around artists that make real music that stays with people, right? That is not being built by this kind of quick hurry, come up, make a pop hit, be on TV, and everyone thinks you've blown. That's what people always ask me. When are you going to blow? I'm like, I don't like to be arrogant. No, I don't like to be arrogant and give an arrogant response, but I say to young people, what is that? Define that to me. Because they think being visible and being on MTV and having a record deal, when in reality, I'm not knocking that. For some people that's cool, and I'm not saying it's not the way to go. What I'm saying is it's not what it seems. For every penny these artists are getting, their label's making £100 off it. For every penny I get, it's my penny, right? And people look successful But in reality, a lot of the time, they're not. And it's a poison chalice. You make a kind of music that doesn't stay with people, and you don't have longevity. Whereas if you do what those artists I've just mentioned have done, and what I'm trying to do and other artists are trying to do, is you build something that takes much longer and you have to put in much more sacrifices, but it's permanent. Yeah. The last time I had a record on Radio 1 was 2006. I've done 6 UK tours since. Full headline tours, not me at a dance and there's bare other things going on. We've developed this culture where there's a dance going on, a man are coming to see the gal, really, right? And the MC is incidental to the event. No one's paid to see the MC and the DJ. You've got to see girls, right? It just so happens that this or that DJ or this or that MC's there. Whereas when you make a concert, people are paying to see you. People will buy merch, etc. So you can do those things. And the way you do those things, particularly now, when we set up a company called Real Estate Records in 2004. I was lucky. We got an investor from the States and a producer sort of helped us set up the company back then. But what's happened over the last 7 or 8 years is the business landscape for the music industry has changed drastically. 2004, there weren't no YouTube yet, right? YouTube hadn't even been formed. You know, that came 3-4 years later. There wasn't even really Channel U yet. That was sort of just established, but it didn't have the impact it has now. So you had to spend quite a lot of money to get into the business. Because to be seen, you had to compete with major labels. The only people making music videos was major labels. Today, that is not the case. As you all know, you've probably all heard of SBTV, you've all heard of Brian Daly. But what happens is you create now, I mean, like I said, I'm going to Indonesia a week on Monday to do a lecture. We also launched an education company, we'll come to that, but doing some shows out there. And so what happens is through the internet, if you make music that touches people, you generate a certain fan base automatically from that, both here and there. And it means that for basically no money, you set up a Twitter, a Facebook, no one uses MySpace anymore, but a Twitter, a Facebook, a YouTube channel, and these things actually work. You gradually build it and do shows. I would say to young people, if you're into music, but you don't always have to be the person in front of the camera. You know, there's a need for video directors, there's a need for financial planners, these artists create economies. If you look at what, a lot of the American artists you look up to, what you don't get to see is behind these big successful American artists, there's like 50 men they grew up with, all now doing different, I've seen it, I've toured with Jay-Z, I've toured with Nas, I've toured with Damian Marley, I've supported all these people on tour, and I've seen what happens is everyone else has a function, do you know what I mean? And so we have to realize that there's a need not just for artists, but for all of the business side that goes behind it.